Hey guys, today we're going to be fitting a new fuel pump in this MY99 WRX. It's got the EJ205 motor. I reckon it's due for a pump. It's a pretty easy thing to do if you've got the right bits and pieces, the right know-how, which you're going to have in a minute. So let's check it out. Alright, so first of all, we're going to want to disconnect the battery. We don't want to be playing with electricity near fuel if it's going to get any sparks or anything. Now we head straight around to the boot. So straight out with the boot carpet. So here's our fuel pump cover. Just give it a bit of a clean around there. Let's just take that cover off. Try and not tear the little foam gasket seal thing. And there's our pump. Let's just try and give it a bit of a wipe down. Because once we take it off, it's going to expose the fuel tank. Alright, so let's start disconnecting the hoses. Now, the electrical connector, that's him. So now we just undo the retainers. So that's a 8mm headed socket. Don't use power tools on this, you're going to have a bad time. We are working with fuel, and you can now smell it. That's all our retainers off now, so the unit's ready to lift out. So here we go. We'll just tuck these hoses out of the way for a minute. You kind of need to twist it on its way out, like that. Make sure you don't bend the float or anything. And it's out. Cool. Just going to put our rag over that so nothing falls in the tank, and out we go. Alright, so as you can see, the pump has been replaced before. I reckon it's time for a new one though, so let's first of all get this old pump off. What I'm going to do as I remove the wires is just tape up the positive ones, so we make sure we put them back on the right side of the pump. So we've got ground and positive. Cool. So there's our old pump. Here's our bare assembly. Alright. Alright, so here's our new pump. Okay, now this is a genuine Nippon Denso, made in Japan, 255 litres per hour high volume pump. Alright, so forget about your Walbro, get one of these bad boys. Alright, it's a 52mm big boy. Alright, why have an American Walbro pump when you can have a Japanese Denso 255? Rightio, so that's what we're going to be fitting in. So let's open him up. Obviously don't let it roll on the floor. Alright, so he's going to sit in there, like that. Who's your daddy? Alright, so let's start prepping it to fit it in. Here's the inlet screen, or the filter sock, comes with it. So we'll put that on next. Look at that. Oh baby. Look at that impeller in there. Just ready to suck in some sweet 98 octane. Just going to give him a little love tap. Nylon hammer like that. Fits nice and tight. Beautiful. Now we'll knock our speed clip on. So for that we just need a small socket, probably a 1/4 inch. Actually I reckon a 3/16 will be the shiznit. Sit our speed clip on top. And really just need to push it on like that. Alright, Bob's your uncle. So now the inlet filter can't vibrate off. Alrighty. Now our next step is our hose, our connecting hose, right? Now, don't be a numpty and just put EFI hose in here. This whole unit is submersed in petrol. If you use normal fuel hose, you're gonna have a bad time. It has to be in-tank fuel hose. This is specially fuel resistant on the inside and the outside, as opposed to normal fuel hose, which is just fuel resistant on the inside. If you've got normal fuel hose and submerse it in petrol, it'll just rot itself and it just goes to jelly and explodes. Not really what you want. Alright, so make sure you get your submersible fuel hose. Usually comes in 1 foot lengths, right? And it'll have on there submersible fuel line, all its manufacturing ratings that it needs to meet, right? So don't just go on down to your local auto shop, get a couple of inches of fuel hose and whack it in there and think you've done a good job, because you haven't. What I'm going to do with this bad boy is cut some for here, but I'm also going to use this fuel hose just to help secure the pump. I'm going to make a little like saddle out of it as well, right? Gets sold by the foot. We don't need much for the actual fuel hose portion of it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut a bit for here for the fuel feed hose, right? About 3 inches will do. Gonna put that up here, push it up the hard line. To help me push it on, I'm going to use a bit of Lennox. Now this is 100% plastic and rubber safe. It's lubricant, so you're not going to damage anything. Right. Push him up there, ready for the pump to go in. Now I'm going to cut a couple of bits of this to lay in here. Now what I'm going to do now is slice them down the middle, just on one side. Right, and now I'm going to feed them down the side of this U-channel here. Like that, both sides. Put our bottom perch in, like that. Cool. Now let's fit our pump. I'm going to reuse this collar. Alright. So slip it over the pump like that. In she goes. Off comes the stop cap, and sit the pump into place like that. There we are. Now you can see that the pump is just sitting down against our insulated rails there on our submersible fuel hose. The output barb is lined up with the feed hose on the pump assembly. Sitting in the bottom, our socks straight up and down. Alrighty. Alright, so next thing we want to do is push the fuel hose back so that it's over the pump. Alright, there we are. Hose is pushed back all the way. Cool. Alright, so I've just seen a potential problem here. So this sock that came with the Toyota pump is right angle to the pump, but our Subaru pump assembly sits in there like that, into the tank. So can you see the problem? It's got the potential of running out of fuel, so we need to change the filter sock, unfortunately. So let's do that now. Now I just happen to have this filter sock off another pump I bought once. Usually they're quite universal, so let's see if it fits this pump. Right, it does, thankfully. Alright, so let's push it on. Alright, there we are. That looks better. That's a better setup now. Okay, so what I need to do now is put a new retainer on the pump. On here. That. Alright, so now we need to put our perch back in. Alrighty, there we go. So you can see now, when it's in the tank, the filter's going to be level with the bottom. Alright, that's a nice little trap to fall into. Anyway, we've overcome it. So, let's get our clamp around the unit now. Like that. Not too tight, just enough to give it a nice little hug. Alright, now for our electrical connections. So before we put our terminals on, they're a little bit tarnished. I'm going to give them a quick polish up with some 220 wet and dry. Alright, there we go, nice and shiny. Now let's connect the terminals. Now we don't want to go too tight because it'll snap it off inside the pump. You just want to tighten it up firm so it won't come loose. That's plenty. Now our positive cables. Same thing, not too tight, but firm enough that it won't come undone. That's him. Now we can take our tape off. Slide our protection sleeve down the cable again. That so it doesn't short. Alright, cool. There we are, she's all connected up. Now we're almost done, we're just ready for our hose clamps now. So here we go. Now we're going to reuse the constant tension hose clamps. The reason being is because they just continually put more pressure on the hose as the hose shrinks. So we don't have to worry about a screw clamp coming loose later in its service life. Alright, so just past the swage, like that. Same deal with the other one. There we are. Now another reason, of course, that we don't want to put a screw clamp on the pump is that the outlet pipe on the pump is plastic and we do not want to break it. Because the feed pipe on the pump assembly is metal, I'm going to put a screw clamp on here. We've got plenty of hose for it, so I've just unwound a clamp. So put it on like this. Now this is a proper EFI clamp with the extended tang. I'll I'm just going to put it up here like this. Just for added pressure on the actual feed hose. Like that. Alright, so there she is. And you can see now that when it's like this in the tank, the sock's going to be in the bottom of the fuel well. Alright, so lucky we noticed that before we put it in, eh? Let's fit it back in the tank. Alright, so before we slip the unit in now, it's a good time to just check the condition of the tank. Have a look for sediment or rust or anything. But it all looks really good, eh? Give you guys a closer up look. You can see in there the area where the pump picks up from. Little swirl tank inside the fuel tank. Alright. Anyway, let's fit the pump in. Alright, so same as when we took it out, we've got to feed it in on the right angles and everything. Like that, and like that. It really can't end up in the wrong spot, so as long as it's going in there, it's fine. You can see our float's in position, our sock's in position. So we just continue to drop it down now into the tank. Move our connectors out of the way, like that. Like that. Retrieve our hoses now. There we go. Now, very important we remember to put our clamps back on the pipes. Okay. And we can push them back onto the tubes. That's one. And two. And our most important on our feed line, make sure the O-ring's still in there, which it is. He's on. Cool, alright, now we can secure the assembly in there now with the nuts. I'm just going to put some Lennox on the studs because this is pretty much exposed to the weather. On they go. That's that. Let's put our clamps back on. Just fit the constant tension clamps back on, they're fine. Okay, we're almost done. Now our wiring connector. Now because this connector is one of the most important connectors in the car, and it's up under the car, you know, can get in the dirt and that, I'm going to put some dielectric grease down inside it, just to stop any corrosion or connection problems, right? So just push it down in it like that. And then we'll push it into the plug like this. Boom. There we are. Alright, cool. Double check all the connections. I think what we'll do now is we'll reconnect the battery and see how it sounds. Alright, I've got the battery connected. Let's turn on the ignition now and prime the system, see how the pump sounds. Well, I tell you what, it sounds like a really quiet pump. I'm going to start the car now. So now's a really good time to check for any leaks or anything. Return line, feed line, vent line. Not even an inkling of a leak. And I'll tell you what, it's a silent pump. That's filth. Alright, well I guess we'll finish off putting the car back together now. Alright, let's kick it over, shall we, and check the pressure. .50 psi. That's a great improvement compared to our old pump. Oh, that's great. Alright guys, well that's it. We've got our nice new Japanese 255 pump in our WRX. It's a really nice pump, it's almost silent. I'd really recommend it to anyone wanting a high volume pump. Just remember to choose the appropriate pickup sock depending on the situation of your pump assembly. Of course with this one we had to choose the 45 degree sock for the bottom instead of the 90, otherwise she would have been sticking up out of the petrol and the pump's not going to have a good time sucking air. So anyway, I guess that wraps us up. Here's our old pump. She's destined for the trash, just not cutting the mustard, mate. So I suppose that's it. So as always, thank you for liking, sharing, and please keep subscribing. Catch you next time on Nev's Garage.